The alarms on Proxima Station would not stop ringing. Admiral Kate Daniels rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the main screen. The display showed dozens of coalition ships limping back from the front lines, most of them damaged and barely able to fly. This was the third retreat this month, and everyone knew what it meant. They were losing the war. "Status report," Kate said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Not good, Admiral," replied Major Gary Peterson from his station. "The Xeraxians broke through our defensive line at Sector 7. We lost 14 ships, and at least 20 more are heavily damaged." Kate nodded silently. Proxima Station was the last major coalition outpost near the front. If it fell, there would be nothing between the Xeraxian Empire and the core worlds. She had been fighting this war for 6 years, and for the first time, she allowed herself to consider that it might truly be lost. "The Xeraxian fleet will be here within 48 hours, Gary continued. "Their main battle group has at least 4 dreadnoughts. We have nothing that can match that firepower." The command center grew quiet. Everyone had heard the report, and no one had any solutions to offer. "We should order the civilian evacuation," said Commander Debbie Foster, the station's security chief. "If we start now, we might get most of the non-military personnel to safety before they arrive." Kate agreed. "Make it happen. Priority to children and medical cases." She turned to look at the tactical display again. The situation was grim. The coalition forces were outnumbered and outgunned. The Xeraxians had better ships, better weapons, and seemingly endless resources. How had it come to this? In the communications section of the command center, Lieutenant John Miller sat up straight in his chair. He adjusted his headset and leaned closer to his screen. "Admiral, I'm picking up a transmission," he said, his fingers moving quickly across his control panel. "It's weak and breaking up, but I think it's from Earth." Kate walked over to his station. Earth messages were rare these days. The Xeraxians had destroyed many of the communication relays, making direct contact difficult. "Can you clean it up?" she asked. John worked for a few moments, then nodded. "I've got it, but it's still fragmentary." He pressed a button, and a voice filled with static came through the speakers. "Project Thunderbolt is operational. Prototype vessel has launched. ETA to Proxima Sector is. Repeat, Project Thunderbolt is en route." The message cut off. John looked up at Kate with excitement in his eyes. "They've been talking about Project Thunderbolt in coded messages for months," he said. "Whatever it is, they think it can help us." Commander Foster snorted. "Probably just propaganda to keep morale up. Earth's been promising a game-changer since the war began." "Maybe," Kate said, but something in her didn't want to dismiss the message so quickly. "When was this sent?" John checked his readings. "About 14 hours ago, based on the signal degradation." Kate returned to the main tactical display, thinking hard. The Coalition had no secret weapons that she knew of. The war effort had been focused on building more of the same ships that were already proving inadequate against the Xeraxian forces. What could Earth possibly have developed that would make any difference now? Around her, the command center continued its grim work, preparing for what everyone believed would be their last stand. Officers spoke in hushed tones, and even the most optimistic among them struggled to find hope. Kate stared at the display, showing the incoming enemy fleet. 48 hours until they arrived. If Earth really had sent help, it needed to get here fast. "Lieutenant Miller," she said finally, "keep monitoring for any more transmissions about this Project Thunderbolt. If you pick up anything, I want to know immediately." "Yes, Admiral," John replied. Kate didn't tell the others, but she allowed herself to hold onto a tiny sliver of hope. In war, sometimes that was all you had left. She watched as the evacuation orders went out and her people prepared for battle. The Xeraxians thought this fight was already over. Maybe, just maybe, they were wrong. 6 months earlier, Dr. Alan Wright stood in the large underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room hummed with energy as dozens of scientists and engineers worked at their stations. In the center of the lab, suspended in a massive construction bay, was the ship that might save humanity. "How are the quantum shield tests coming along?" Alan asked, looking up from his tablet. Olivia Ross, the lead engineer on the project, wiped sweat from her forehead. She had been working for 20 hours straight, but her eyes still burned with determination. "Better than expected," she said. "The shields absorbed 97% of the energy from our last test. That's a 30% improvement over standard coalition shields." Alan nodded, trying not to show too much excitement. Project Thunderbolt had been his idea from the start, a desperate plan to create technology that could stand against the Taraxian war machine. For 3 years, his team had worked in secret, building systems that most military experts had declared impossible. "And the weapons platform?" he asked. "Ready for the final integration test," Olivia replied. "If it works like our models predict, it should disrupt the energy matrix of any Xeraxian ship it hits." They both looked at the ship again. The U.S. Vanguard wasn't large compared to standard coalition battleships. It was sleek and oddly shaped, with none of the usual weapon ports or engine exhausts. Everything about it defied conventional design. That was the point. The door to the lab slid open, and 3 people in military uniforms walked in. General Frank Howard led the group, his face serious as always. "Dr. Wright, we need to talk," the general said. "The Joint Chiefs have made a decision about your project." Alan's heart sank. He had been expecting this visit. The coalition was losing ground every day, and resources were becoming scarce. Many in the military leadership thought the Vanguard was a waste of precious materials and manpower. "Sir, if you'll just give us a few more weeks," Alan began. "The ship is being deployed," General Howard interrupted. "Effective immediately." Alan stared at him in shock. "Deployed? But we haven't completed all the testing. The quantum drive still has stability issues, and the weapons system needs calibration. We don't have time for more tests," the general said plainly. "The Xeraxians have broken through at Sector 7. Proxima Station will be next, and after that, they have a clear path to Earth. The Joint Chiefs believe we need to take the risk." Olivia stepped forward. "The Vanguard isn't ready for combat. We haven't even done a proper shakedown cruise." "It will have to learn on the job," said a man standing next to the general. He was younger than the others, wearing a pilot's uniform with captain's bars. "This is Captain Sam Reeves," General Howard said. "He'll be commanding the Vanguard." Sam nodded at Alan and Olivia. "I studied all your reports. I know the ship has quirks, but I've been flying experimental craft for years." "This isn't just an experimental craft," Alan argued. "The systems on the Vanguard are theoretical. Some of them have never been tested outside a lab." "Which is why we're bringing your core team along," the general explained. "You'll have 72 hours to prep the ship and train the crew. Then you launch." Alan felt dizzy. The Vanguard was brilliant on paper, but rushing it into battle was madness. Yet he also understood the desperation behind the decision. Earth was running out of options. "Who else will be on the crew?" Olivia asked. Sam handed her a tablet. "We've selected the best people available. Small crew, all volunteers, all experts in their fields." Alan scanned the list. Nicole Carter for engineering, Eric Jackson for navigation, and Dr. Lisa Mitchell for AI systems. Each name had an impressive record. "This is insane," Alan muttered, but he was already thinking about what needed to be done in the next 72 hours. "Insane is our only option left," Sam said, his voice calm. "The Xeraxians think they've won this war. Let's go show them they're wrong." Alan looked at the Vanguard again. It wasn't ready. But maybe, just maybe, it was ready enough. The U.S. Vanguard moved through space like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Instead of the blue glow of standard engine drives, it left a strange ripple in the darkness behind it. Inside the ship, Captain Sam Reeves gripped his chair as another shudder ran through the hull. "Status report," he called out, keeping his voice calm despite the circumstances. Nicole Carter frowned at her engineering console. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and circles had formed under her eyes from lack of sleep. The quantum drive is operating at 110% capacity. That's 15% above what we tested in simulations. Can it hold? Sam asked. Nicole exchanged a glance with Dr. Alan Wright, who stood behind her station. It has to, Alan said simply. They had been traveling for 4 days, pushing the experimental drive system harder than anyone had intended. Reports from the front lines grew worse by the hour. Proxima Station would fall in less than 2 days if they didn't arrive in time. Eric Jackson spoke up from the navigation console. Captain, I'm detecting something unusual in the quantum field ahead. Sam leaned forward. Thoraxian ships. No, sir. It's more like a fold in space. Eric adjusted some controls on his panel. I've never seen readings like this. Lisa Mitchell moved to stand next to Eric. The AI specialist studied the readouts with a frown. The quantum drive is interacting with it, creating some kind of resonance pattern. Is it dangerous? Sam asked. Alan moved closer to examine the data. His eyes widened. It might be an opportunity. Explain, Sam said. According to our theories, the quantum drive bends space around the ship, Alan said quickly. That fold ahead could be a natural version of what we're creating artificially, if we align our field with it correctly. We could ride it. Nicole finished, suddenly excited. Like surfing a wave. It might double our speed, maybe more. Sam looked at his crew. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing the risks. The Vanguard was humanity's last hope, but it would arrive too late unless they found a way to push it even harder. Can you make the adjustments? He asked Nicole. She nodded, though uncertainty showed on her face. I think so. But I should warn you, Captain, this goes beyond theoretical. We're in completely unknown territory. The whole mission is unknown territory, Sam replied. Make it happen. For the next hour, Nicole and Alan worked frantically at the engineering station. The rest of the small crew prepared for what might be a rough transition. Ready, Captain, Nicole finally announced. On your mark. Sam took a deep breath. Proceed. Nicole's fingers moved across her console. The ship's hum changed pitch, rising to a sound that made everyone's teeth ache. The stars outside the viewports began to stretch and blur. Field alignment at 80%, Nicole called out, her voice tight with concentration. 90%. 95. The Vanguard lurched violently. Warning lights flashed across every console. For a moment, Sam thought they had made a terrible mistake. Then the ship shot forward with incredible speed. The stars outside became streaks of light. The hull groaned under stresses it was never designed to endure. All systems holding, Nicole reported, sounding surprised. We're moving at. This can't be right. What is it? Sam demanded. We're moving at 3 times our previous velocity, she said in disbelief. At this rate, we'll reach Proxima Station in 14 hours. A cautious cheer went up around the bridge. But Sam noticed Alan's expression remained serious. What is it? He asked quietly. The quantum drive wasn't designed for this, Alan replied. I don't know if it can sustain these energy levels, and even if we make it to Proxima in time. The weapons systems haven't been fully calibrated, Sam finished for him. Alan nodded. Against a full Thoraxian battle fleet, I don't know if there'll be enough. Sam looked around at his crew. They had all heard, but their faces showed determination, not fear. We'll make it work, Sam said firmly. We have to. The main screen on Proxima Station showed a terrifying sight. Over 50 Thoraxian warships moved in perfect formation toward the station. Their black hulls absorbed the light from nearby stars, making them look like holes cut into space itself. At the center of their formation, 4 massive dreadnoughts led the way, each one capable of destroying the entire station. Admiral Kate Daniels stood tall as she gave orders to her remaining ships. They had managed to evacuate most of the civilians, but now they faced their final stand. All vessels, form defensive pattern Delta, she commanded. Focus fire on the lead ships. Make every shot count. The coalition ships, just 23 in number, moved into position. Many were damaged from previous battles, their crews exhausted but determined. Admiral, Lieutenant John Miller called from his station. I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at the edge of the system. Kate frowned. Soraxian reinforcements. No, Mom. I've never seen anything like it. John worked his controls frantically. Whatever it is, it's moving fast. Very fast. Before Kate could respond, the tactical officer shouted, "The Soraxians are firing." The first volley from the enemy fleet streaked across space. Several coalition ships took direct hits. Emergency signals flooded the communications channels. Unknown vessel now at the edge of the battlefield, John reported. It just appeared behind the Soraxian fleet. The main screen shifted to show a strange ship. It wasn't large, but its design was unlike anything Kate had ever seen. It moved with impossible speed, darting between the surprised Soraxian vessels. Open fire on that ship, Kate ordered, assuming it was some new Soraxian weapon. Wait, John shouted, louder than he intended. Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel. It's using coalition codes, old ones, but valid. Kate hesitated. Put it through. A man's voice filled the command center. Proxima Station. This is Captain Sam Reeves of the U.S. Vanguard. We are a prototype vessel from Earth. Hold your fire. I repeat, hold your fire. We are friendly. Kate could hardly believe what she was hearing. This is Admiral Daniels. Authenticate your identity immediately. Authentication code Sierra Tango 749. Sam replied without hesitation. Admiral, we don't have much time. The Vanguard is equipped with experimental weapons designed specifically to target Soraxian ships. Request permission to engage. The Soraxian fleet had noticed the new arrival. Several of their smaller ships broke formation, turning to face the Vanguard. Granted, Kate said, but be advised, you're outnumbered 50-1. Quality over quantity, Admiral, Sam replied, and Kate thought she could hear a smile in his voice. Watch this. On the screen, the Vanguard suddenly accelerated, heading straight for 3 Soraxian dreadnoughts. The enemy ships fired, their energy weapons lighting up space, but the shots seemed to bend around the human vessel, as if space itself was warping to protect it. They missed. Someone in the command center gasped. The Vanguard fired. Instead of conventional energy beams, waves of blue-white light pulsed from the ship. When they struck the first Soraxian dreadnought, its shields flickered and died. A second pulse hit, and the massive ship's weapons went dark. Direct hit, John reported. The Soraxian dreadnought's power systems are failing. The Vanguard didn't stop. It fired again at a second dreadnought, then a third, disabling their main weapons. The smaller Soraxian ships scrambled to protect their flagships, but they seemed confused by what was happening. Kate watched in amazement. In less than a minute, this single ship had done more damage than her entire fleet could have accomplished in hours. All coalition vessels, she ordered, provide covering fire for the Vanguard. Target the smaller enemy ships. Don't let them swarm our new friend. Her fleet responded immediately. For the first time in months, Kate saw hope on the faces of her officers. Where did they find that ship? Commander Foster asked quietly at Kate's side. I don't know, Kate answered, watching as the Vanguard continued its attack run. But I'm very glad they did. The bridge of the Vanguard shook violently as energy beams from a dozen Soraxian ships converged on their position. The initial surprise of their attack was over. Now the enemy knew they were a threat. Quantum shields at 60% and falling, Nicole called out from her station. Sweat dripped down her face as she worked to keep the ship's systems stable. Sam gripped his chair and gave new orders. Evasive pattern echo. Let's not stay still long enough for them to get a clean shot. The Vanguard responded instantly, darting between enemy vessels with a speed and agility that seemed impossible for a ship its size. On the main screen, Sam could see the Coalition fleet pressing their advantage, targeting the smaller Xeraxian ships, while the Vanguard kept the dreadnoughts busy. "Captain, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the weapons system," Lisa reported. "The experimental matrix is becoming unstable." Aylin moved to her station, studying the readings with a frown. "We're pushing it too hard." The system wasn't designed for continuous fire. A direct hit rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields at 40%, Nickel announced. "That last hit did some damage to the propulsion system. I need to reroute power." Sam made a quick decision. "Pull back. We need to regroup." Eric plotted a course away from the main battle, but 3 Xeraxian cruisers moved to block their escape. They fired in unison, their beams striking the Vanguard's port side. The ship lurched sideways. A panel exploded near Nickel's station, sending sparks flying across the bridge. She cried out in pain as some caught her arm, but kept working. "Shields at 25%, she reported through gritted teeth. "One more hit like that, and we're in serious trouble." Sam opened a channel to Proxima Station. "Admiral Daniels, we need to withdraw temporarily. Can you provide cover?" Kate's voice came back immediately. "Affirmative, Captain. We'll clear you a path." On the screen, Sam watched as 5 Coalition vessels moved into position, concentrating their fire on the Xeraxian ships, blocking the Vanguard's retreat. It opened a narrow corridor of safety. "Take us through, Eric," Sam ordered. "Nice and easy." The Vanguard limped away from the main battle. Once they were clear, Sam turned to Nicole. "How bad is it?" She didn't sugarcoat the answer. "Bad. The quantum shields are barely holding. The main weapons system is overheating, and we've got damage to the propulsion system that I can't fix without shutting down the engines completely." "How long would repairs take?" Sam asked. "At least 2 hours for the basic systems," Nickel replied. "Maybe longer for the weapons." Sam looked around at his crew. They were exhausted but determined. They had already accomplished more than anyone could have expected, disabling 3 Xeraxian dreadnoughts in their first engagement. His communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission from Proxima Station. Admiral Daniels appeared on the screen. "Captain Reeves, that was quite a display," she said. "But the battle isn't over. The Xeraxians are regrouping. They've pulled back their damaged dreadnoughts and are bringing up reinforcements. We need time to make repairs, Admiral," Sam explained. The Vanguard wasn't ready for a prolonged engagement. Kate's expression was grim. "I understand. We can try to hold them off, but honestly, I don't know how long we'll last without your help." Sam looked to Alan. "Is there any way to speed up the repairs?" Alan thought for a moment. "Maybe. If we integrate some of the Coalition technology with our systems, we might be able to stabilize the quantum matrix. It would be a patch job, but it could work." "Do it," Sam said. Then he turned back to the screen. "Admiral, we'll be back in the fight as soon as possible. In the meantime, have your tech send over all the data you have on Xeraxian shield frequencies. I have an idea that might give us an edge." Kate nodded. "Sending the data now. But hurry, Captain. I don't think we can hold them off for long." As the transmission ended, Sam looked out at the stars. The Vanguard had survived its first battle, but the real test was still to come. Nicole Carter wiped grease from her hands as she crawled out from under a console. The engineering section of the Vanguard was a mess of open panels and exposed wiring. For the past hour, she and Dr. Alan Wright had been working frantically to repair the damaged systems. "How's it coming?" Sam asked as he entered the room. "It's not pretty, but it might work," Nicole answered. She pointed to where they had connected Coalition power couplings to the Vanguard's quantum systems. "We've integrated their shield harmonics with our quantum field generator. It should make our shields more effective against their weapons." Aylin looked less confident. "The real problem is the weapons system. It wasn't designed for sustained combat. Every time we fire, it creates microfractures in the quantum matrix. A message came through the ship's communication system. "Captain," Lisa's voice called. "Admiral Daniels is requesting an update. The Exaraxians have begun their next attack wave." Sam frowned. "Tell her we're working on it." He turned back to Nicole and Alan. "We need options. Now." Eric Jackson entered the engineering bay, carrying a datapad. "I might have something," he said. "I've been analyzing the data from our quantum drive." He showed them the screen. "When we used that space-time fold to increase our speed, the drive created a kind of ripple effect. It temporarily distorted the space around us." "We know that," Alan said impatiently. "That's how the quantum drive works." "Yes, but look at this." Eric pointed to a section of the data. "The distortion affected the Exaraxian ships when we passed near them. Their energy systems flickered for a few seconds." Nicole's eyes widened as she understood what Eric was suggesting. "You think we could use the quantum drive as a weapon?" Eric nodded. "Not directly. But if we could create controlled distortions around key Exaraxian vessels, it might disrupt their systems long enough for the coalition ships to target them." Sam considered this. "Can we do that without damaging our own drive?" "It's risky," Nicole admitted. "We'd need to create precise calculations for each fold. Too small, and it won't affect the Exaraxian ships. Too large, and it could tear the Vanguard apart." "I can help with that," Lisa said, joining them in engineering. "The ship's AI systems can calculate the optimal distortion patterns based on the Exaraxian fleet positions." Sam was quiet for a moment, weighing their options. The Vanguard was humanity's last hope, but if they didn't use everything they had, there might not be anything left to save. "Do it," he finally said. "How long until we can try this?" 30 minutes to program the calculations, Lisa estimated. Another 15 to reconfigure the drive systems. "You have 20 minutes total," Sam told them. "The coalition fleet won't last much longer than that." As his crew hurried to work, Sam returned to the bridge. On the main screen, he could see the battle continuing. The coalition ships fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. 2 more had been destroyed in the time the Vanguard had been away from the fight. He opened a channel to Proxima Station. "Admiral Daniels, this is Captain Reeves." Kate's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but her eyes were still sharp. "Please tell me you have good news, Captain." "We're working on a new strategy," Sam explained. "We need 20 more minutes." Kate shook her head. "I'm not sure we have 20 minutes. The Exaraxians have adapted to our attack patterns. They're cutting through our defenses." "Hold them off," Sam urged. "What we're planning could change everything. But we need time." "We'll do our best," Kate promised. "But whatever you're planning, it better be good." As the transmission ended, Sam stared at the battle on the screen. Everything depended on whether a desperate plan based on untested theory would work. It was the longest shot imaginable. But sometimes, the longest shots were all you had left. The Vanguard moved back toward the battle, its engines humming with an uneven rhythm. Inside, the crew worked at their stations with intense focus. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. "All systems ready," Nicole reported from engineering. Her voice sounded strained over the communication link. "Quantum drive configured for controlled space-time disruptions." "Targeting calculations complete," Lisa added. "I've mapped out optimal points around the Exaraxian fleet formation. If we hit them right, we should create maximum disruption." Sam opened a channel to the coalition fleet. "Admiral Daniels, we're moving back into position. On my signal, have your ships target these coordinates." He transmitted the data Lisa had prepared. "Understood," Kate replied. "But be advised, Captain, we've lost 7 more ships. Our remaining vessels are taking heavy damage." Sam nodded grimly. "This ends now, Admiral, one way or another." The Vanguard accelerated toward the center of the Exaraxian formation. The enemy ships immediately noticed. turning their weapons toward the returning human vessel. "They remember us," Eric said from the navigation console. "Good," Sam replied. "I want their attention." Energy beams shot across space toward the Vanguard. Some missed entirely, while others glanced off the modified shields. "Shields holding at 40%, Nickel reported. "The Coalition modifications are working." "Begin the sequence," Sam ordered. "Target the lead dreadnought first." Eric's fingers flew across his controls. Initiating Quantum Fold, Pattern Alpha. The ship shuddered as the quantum drive engaged, not for propulsion but for a new purpose. The space around the Vanguard seemed to bend and twist. A ripple of distorted energy spread outward, engulfing the nearest Taraxian dreadnought. The effect was immediate. The massive enemy ship's lights flickered and died. Its weapons went silent, and it began to drift aimlessly. "It worked," Ellen exclaimed, staring at the readings on his screen. The quantum disruption completely disabled their power systems. "Coalition ships are firing," Lisa reported. "Direct hits on the disabled dreadnought." Sam didn't wait to celebrate. Next target. Pattern Beta. Again, the Vanguard created a controlled quantum disruption. This time, it spread wider, catching 3 Xoraxian cruisers in its effect. All 3 ships suffered immediate system failures. The Coalition fleet pressed the attack, concentrating their fire on the disabled enemy vessels. For the first time in the battle, the Xoraxians seemed confused, their perfect formation breaking apart as ships tried to avoid the Vanguard's reach. "It's working," Sam said, allowing himself a small smile. "Prepare for Pattern Yama. Let's hit their command ship." The Vanguard turned toward the largest Taraxian vessel. But before they could initiate the next quantum fold, warning lights flashed across Nickel's console. "Captain, the quantum drive is overheating," she shouted. "The stress is too much. If we try another disruption, we might lose the drive completely." Sam hesitated. Without the quantum drive, they would lose both their unique weapon and their way home. "How many more disruptions can we safely create?" he asked. Nickel checked her readings. "Maybe one more. But I can't guarantee the drive will survive it." Sam looked at the battle on his screen. The Xoraxians were regrouping. If they didn't disable the command ship now, the enemy would adapt to their tactics and the advantage would be lost. "Admiral Daniels," he called, "we have one more shot at this. Can your fleet take down the command ship if we disable it?" "We'll throw everything we have at it," Kate promised. But without their command structure, the entire Xoraxian fleet might retreat. Sam made his decision. All power to the quantum drive. Target the Xoraxian command ship. "Eric, make this one count." "Aye, Captain," Eric replied. Calculating maximum effective pattern. The Vanguard moved into position, facing the massive Xoraxian flagship. The enemy ship seemed to sense the danger, turning all its weapons toward the small human vessel. "They're targeting us with everything they have," Lisa warned. Sam gripped his chair. "Now, Eric, do it now." The Vanguard trembled as the quantum drive engaged one final time. Alarms blared throughout the ship. The hull groaned under the stress as space itself bent around them. "Drive temperature critical," Nickel shouted over the noise. "Containment fields failing." Sam watched the main screen as the quantum disruption spread outward, larger than any they had created before. It engulfed the Xoraxian command ship like a wave. The massive vessel's lights flickered, then went dark. Its weapons powered down mid-firing sequence. "Direct hit," Lisa called out. "Their command ship is completely disabled." The Coalition fleet responded immediately, every remaining ship focusing fire on the vulnerable target. Explosions bloomed across the Taraxian flagship's hull. Inside the Vanguard, a different crisis was unfolding. "The quantum core is destabilizing," Nickel reported, her voice tight with fear. "If it collapses, it could create a cascade reaction. Captain, we're talking about a space-time rupture that could take out half this system." Sam opened a channel to Admiral Daniels. "Admiral, our drive system is going critical. We need to get away from the main battle. Now. Kate's response was immediate. Understood, Captain. What can we do to help? Ellen moved to Nicole's station, studying the readings. We can't shut down the drive. The reaction has gone too far. We need to vent the excess energy somehow. A new voice joined the conversation. Captain Reeves, this is Chief Engineer Paul Bennett from Proxima Station. I've been monitoring your ship's energy signature. I might have an idea. We're open to anything, Chief, Sam replied. If we extend our station's shields to overlap with your quantum field, we might be able to help stabilize the reaction, Paul explained. It would give your engineer time to perform an emergency shutdown. Ellen looked at Nicole. Could that work? She nodded hesitantly. Maybe. Their shields use a different frequency than our quantum field, but if we can synchronize them. Do it, Sam ordered. Then to Paul. We're moving into position. Have your shields ready. The Vanguard limped toward Proxima Station, trailing wisps of blue energy that sparkled and faded like dying stars. Behind them, the battle had taken a dramatic turn. With their command ship crippled, the Xeraxian fleet fell into disarray. Some ships continued fighting, but others began to retreat. Approaching Proxima Station, Eric reported. Shields extending to meet us. On the screen, Sam could see the blue glow of the station's defensive barrier reaching out toward his ship. As the two energy fields touched, the Vanguard shuddered. Synchronizing frequencies, Nicole called out. It's working. The reaction is stabilizing. For several tense minutes, everyone held their breath as Nicole worked to shut down the quantum drive safely. Finally, the warning alarms fell silent. Drive offline, she announced, her voice filled with relief. We're safe. A cheer went up around the bridge. Sam allowed himself to relax slightly for the first time in hours. The communication panel lit up with Admiral Daniels' face. She was smiling. Captain Reeves, the Xeraxians are retreating. All of them. This is the first time they've ever pulled back from an engagement. She shook her head in amazement. Your ship just changed the course of this war. Sam looked around at his exhausted crew. It wasn't just the ship, Admiral. It was the people. 3 days later, they gathered in the main conference room of Proxima Station. Representatives from across the coalition had arrived to see the prototype vessel that had accomplished the impossible. Admiral Daniels stood at the front of the room. What the Vanguard did was just the beginning, she told the assembled leaders. Earth has provided us with the technical specifications. We can build more ships with this technology. Sam stepped forward. The Xeraxians thought they had won this war. They thought the battle was over. He smiled. They were wrong. From the back of the room, Dr. Alan Wright watched with pride. The Vanguard hadn't been ready. The technology had been experimental, untested. But when everything was on the line, human ingenuity and courage had made the difference. The war wasn't over. But for the first time in years, humanity had hope. And sometimes, hope was the most powerful weapon of all.